Hello, everyone. Welcome to Telling Tales. It's Wednesday night. Blade Runner time. That's what that means. But before Blade Runner time, it's promo time because that's just what we do around these parts. If you check the description below, you'll find a whole bunch of links to Twitch, links to YouTube. We can be found on both those sites in the configuration you might expect. There's also links to our social media, our Discord, our Patreon, our merch store, blah, 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 blah. All that good stuff is the general things you'd expect to find, I'm sure. We are also running a Kickstarter campaign at the moment. We are, in fact, in the very last week of the Kickstarter campaign at the moment, and I will put a link into chat for you. We've already had a resubscribe from 42. Thank you so much, 42. There is our Kickstarter campaign in the chat. Like I say, it's the last week. It'll be closing down on Sunday, which coincidentally or not is the same day we're running our next Troika one-shot. And it's definitely not a coincidence because the Kickstarter campaign is for a Troika zine. And if you tune in on Sunday, you can see us play the first ever game set in our weird and wonderful setting of the Soft. So yeah, check out both those things. One-shot campaign, one-shot. Indistinguishable from each other in bad lighting. We currently run a number of weekly actual plays. Mondays at the moment is it's actually in a bit of flux at the moment. It was just Warhammer, and now it's going to be alternating between Warhammer, which is our ongoing game, and We Deal in Lead, which is a new one that we're starting with Jack as a first-time GM here on the channel. First time. I don't think first time generally, just first time he's GM something on the channel. Wednesdays is Blade Runner. That's what you're watching. And Thursdays is fortnightly Wicked Ones. And that will be replaced at some point in the not too distant future by the Yellow King, which is something we've been looking to run for a while. And it'll be good. We also run one-shots on a sort of monthly basis, the next one of which, as I described, is this Sunday's game of Troika. And I think that's all the promo. So what I am going to do, friends and folks, is add the crew. Realize I've forgotten to add the black background. There we go. Alex is meant to be joining us, but will he? Mysteries. Blade Runner is full of mysteries, and that is just one of them tonight. In the meantime, I'm going to run through a flashback or recap, as normal people call it, of last week's session. Our Blade Runners are assigned to solve the murder of one Blade Runner and the disappearance of another. They have slowly been finding or moving towards a conclusion that the missing Blade Runner killed the other Blade Runner. Whether that's, I still not 100% maybe written in stone, but certainly that's what everything seems to be pointing to. And last week I had a couple of things. Alex's character, Willem, went to the Animoid Butterfly store that Leah, the missing Blade Runner, had frequented in the past, and didn't really get anywhere with the owner there. I think Fenner spent most of the session in downtime, although did retrieve the butterflies, but otherwise just had a very nice time with her cat. And in probably the driving drama of the session was mainly around Olsen and Percival's investigation into a place, essentially an alleyway that Leah, this missing replicant, had been seen going into, but not coming out of. And they went to see if there's anything there, and oh boy, was there. What they found was somewhat decrepit old, either an apartment building, or I think we decided it was like either an apartment building or a hotel in the end. But that was a long time ago, and it was now in deep disrepair. It had mostly just a whole bunch of ruined, empty rooms, but one of them was still obviously being occasionally lived in, a safe house of some kind, and you found a whole bunch of different handouts there to browse over. You found another page of poetry by William Blake. You found a pamphlet for some kind of off-world colony. You found a postcard of the Hollywood sign. You found a kind of replicant, I think it's called Synth, right? A monthly kind of replicant magazine with Lilith Tyrell featured on the cover. Various things, which seem to be like tantalizing new clues that you could perhaps use to unlock your way to the heart of this mystery. And that's obviously all that happened. Nothing dramatic. There was definitely no kind of cliffhanger or impending moment of terrible fear. Only there wasn't there? Because you all had all gathered on VidPhone to kind of share your findings through the course of the previous shift, when Percival noticed an unmarked black spinner touching down near Percival and Olsen, where they were on Hawker's Circle, right? And someone got out, all dressed in black, and raised an assault rifle aimed squarely at these two Blade Runners. So it feels like probably that should be where we pick up, really. Doesn't it?
Are you sure you don't want to pick up with Fenna hanging out with her cat? Is that not like
I'd love
vibe-wise where we're at? No?
I'd actually genuinely love to. And if this was a weekly TV show, that is definitely the first scene I'd be picking up with. But I think, yeah, Fenna, I think you're in your apartment, right, on your VidPhone, the feed just having cut off, going, what the shit, sort of thing. And I say that because I think that is exactly what Inga would shout if that happened.
Yeah, that's pretty bang on.
Yeah. So there we go. Let's. This is the first combat we featured, so we'll run through the combat system as we go. Actually, well, before we do that, let's actually intro the characters a little bit and talk to the player, because I've completely forgotten to do that. Basically, I'm just like, if I just edge out just a little bit more time, maybe the universe will come together and Alex will be with us at the end of the other three of you introducing yourself. That's what's going to happen. Inga, why don't you tell us just a little bit about Fenna and about you and her's thinking on the case right now.
Yeah, Fenna is probably the most sympathetic towards our prime suspect and what might be going on there. She's kind of more of the like influencer, manipulator type character, although we've had a few tricky characters to sort of try and influence. So to varying degrees of success so far. Yeah, I mean, I guess Fenna's feeling pretty chill and relaxed. Well, or at least was until that phone call, having just done my downtime shift. Yeah, not quite sure we're going to pick up just yet after that, because that's definitely changed some of the lines of thinking. But yeah, that's better.
Absolutely. Let's move on to Percival. Stephen, the analyst of the crew. Same question again.
Yeah. So I think Percival is definitely on board with the fact that we have a pretty clear prime suspect. Is not unsympathetic. Like I think he's especially curious about what could have caused Leah to do the things that she's apparently done. Given the testimony of Leah Tyrell and some of the things that we've learned, but well, I was going to say priority number one is we have to catch Leah. That's incredibly important for the case and politically, and like regardless of anything else that we discover, we need to do that. But like I think there is a more immediate priority, which is don't get shot to death.
It's probably a thing to do.
He's thinking on his toes at this exact moment in time.
Absolutely. And speaking of someone in exactly the same situation, Sam is playing Olsen Backer. Yeah, Sam, tell us about Olsen. Tell us about Olsen's thinking.
Olsen's definitely also hoping to not be shot to death, but I do think what we just found in that apartment block has changed Olsen's thinking quite a bit in terms of this. It now feels a lot more premeditated, maybe not precisely how it happened, but to have a kind of escape pad or like second hideout set up, and this seemingly plan of maybe getting off world. It feels like this was a bit more planned, that perhaps there was some other people involved in coordinating this even, or like I think Olsen's perspective on what is happening changes almost with every new piece of evidence, but particularly this has changed it from sort of thinking like, oh, like Leah was kind of traumatized and then something happened and it like, you know, set off something in her that caused her to suddenly decide to shoot Sander, and now she's just on the run kind of for her life, to now thinking a bit more like this, there was at least some kind of planning behind this, and like why was there this planning behind this and who was involved?
Yeah, absolutely. That seems like some pretty solid thinking. Let's hope it doesn't end up splattered all over the sidewalk. So, which I should point out for people, I've already said this pre-stream to the players. Combat in Blade Runner is pretty brutal, and there is definitely a non-zero chance that one or more Blade Runners in pretty much any given combat could get, and I mean this very, very literally, insta-killed. You could definitely enter a combat, the enemy could roll, and then roll one more die, and you could be dead. So, there we have it. So this could be, you know, if Percival and Olsen die, it's just Inga tonight, I guess. So
just
we'll
chilling with the cat for the rest of the stream. It's
yeah,
great.
we'll see what happens there. Okay, so we have established, I think, that Percival saw the individuals coming out of the spinner. Olsen did not. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to have Percival automatically. You can have the initiative is done via cards in this, but Percival, you could just have the number 1 card, right? You're the person who is most aware. I'm happy handing that out to you. Olsen, on the other hand, do you want me to draw from the top, the bottom, or cut to the middle? It's shuffled, obviously. You're on mute.
I think the top. Why not?
Going to go with the top, huh? Well, that's number 4. That's not too bad. It's not too bad.
Okay. Nice.
Now, and you know what, Sam? I'm going to give you the choice again. What do you want for the enemies? Top, cut, end.
I think the end, the bottom.
The bottom, yes. Well, that's 7. So that is better. So let's find all these. I am, it has to be said, not generally a fan of entirely randomized initiative, but it's what the game does, so we will do it dutifully, even using the cards when, frankly, we could have just rolled a die or something. But there we go. Okay, Percival, it's your actions. Blade Runner is very similar to both other Free League games and honestly most TTRPG systems these days, in that you get a move action and an action.
Yep.
You are currently, I would say, both of you are just standing by the spinner. I've given you the first action, so I feel fine not giving you an automatic duck and cover. But I assume that your movement is going to be duck and cover.
Yeah, so like the way that I'm picturing this, we're on the street outside the alley, we're by a spinner, they've pulled up in another spinner, and jumped out, so I'm going to try to make sure that I put the spinner between me and them. So, yeah,
that's absolutely fine, easy to do. You basically just have to scooch around the corner of it. Absolutely fine. They can still shoot at you unless, well, let me amend that. I think because there's rules for cover and it like makes their shots at a disadvantage, but I think if you wanted, you can just hunker entirely. I think that's fair, right? You could hunker entirely obscured. However, if you do that, you're not going to be able to take a shot on your turn, right? So it's up to, like, I'm assuming you're just going to hop into cover a bit, cover enough to
Yeah, like, well, are we assuming the drawing weapon is like an automatic action as like?
I think I don't think it's Senate. I think you do it for free.
I don't think Percival is normally the type to fire the first shot, but I think these people have made their intentions incredibly clear at this point, right? Like, there's no one else they're here gunning for.
Yeah, they are aiming assault rifles at you, and they're not shouting. They're not like trying to draw your attention. They look like they're about to start shooting.
It is the opener of business.
If you want to be absolutely sure, I'm happy with you making an observation roll gratis. Like, no.
Cool. Let's do that for fun. That's going to be 2d12. Wow, those are both 12s, so that is 4 successes on the observation.
Percival, you notice their fingers tightening on the triggers.
It's go time. Right, well, I'm going to pull out my sort of slightly rubbish blaster.
Yeah, because it's the same blaster as others, but you only have sonic rounds, right? Which are like stun rounds.
Yeah.
So.
Is that like a replicant thing? Is that how that, or is it just me?
No, I think it's just because your character's an analyst. They're not expected to maybe be in this kind of situation, so they don't get those requisitioned out to them, I think is the idea.
Good stuff.
Well, that's interesting. That's actually an interesting point. Inga, do you have?
I have Sonic Round and Sonic Blast as an option, where the Sonic Blast is 2 damage versus 1.
Right.
D10. Yeah, so
that's interesting. Maybe that is it then. Yeah, so the replicants have non-lethal rounds.
Cool.
And speaking of non-lethal,
seamless.
We have a Willem Novak with us. Excellent.
I don't know how I'd feel if I was introduced as non-lethal.
As non-lethal.
Oh,
I'm sure Alex is very lethal in the correct circumstances.
High enough velocity.
Between his actions and mine, he did once break my thumb. So yeah, no, finger.
Pinky. I think it was the pinky.
It was the pinky.
Yeah, sorry. I'm never going to live that down. Apparently.
It's not the worst injury I've had from a fake sword. That's all I'll say. So you haven't missed anything. We're right at the beginning of the combat. It is go time. But yes, you only have these sonic rounds, which are like stun rounds.
Okay. Is it reasonable to assume that we are within what we would call medium range?
You are exactly within medium range, yes.
Fantastic. So I will be choosing the Sonic Blast rather than the Sonic Round. How does, I guess I'm rolling firearms?
Yes, you'll be rolling agility and firearms.
Agility plus firearms. It's a D10.
Yeah, and I believe one of those is bad for you and one of those is quite good.
Oh, a D10 agility, D6 firearms.
Yeah, so it could be bad, could be worse.
That is a 6 on the D10, so that's 1 success. That's good. So I've hit.
Excellent. So what is the damage on the Sonic?
So it's damage 2, and then it's a D10 crit die. So how does that?
Sorry, I just want to have a look at what you've got there just to be double sure. So I don't believe you. I just want to get eyes on it. So yeah, so it's crushing damage. Yeah. Sonic Blast. That's interesting. So yeah, so the further you can shoot quite far, but at low damage. But the closer up Sonic Blast, it's not bad. That's not bad.
That's why range matters, because it's. But I assume the crit die is only if you get a crit on the hit.
It is only if you get a crit on the hit.
So I got a success, but not a crit.
You just got a success. So all that means literally is just standard damage. And the damage on the Sonic Blast is 2. Two of your most standard damages.
To whichever one of these mask gunmen. Are they masked? They are,
right? Yes, they have, like, not completely, but they have, like, they're dressed in, I'm sure you can, they're very kind of like SWAT officer. Yeah, absolutely. All black. Black kind of fronted caps, black, like, scarves or mufflers, whatever you'd want to call them, pulled over. But you can see their faces.
Yeah, like, I think you said like private military contractor vibes.
Very, very Black Ops. Yeah. Private military vibes.
The closest one can take 2 damage, please.
Absolutely. And you fire at them. I'm going to say like the blasters are like, if you watch like the original Blade Runner and the new one, they make a hell of a noise. And I don't see why the sonic stun one would make less. In fact, I'd assume it would make much louder. And I think it's really interesting that the in the core book, it talks about the blaster quite a bit and says the reason it makes such a loud, distinct noise is literally so people get out of the fucking way when Blade Runners start shooting. So it's like whatever the reverse of a silencer is, which Alex is here, you might be able to tell us if there is such a thing.
It's called a suppressor, Matt.
Well, the books call it a silencer. So,
muzzle. No, there's no equivalent.
There's no equivalent.
I'm picturing a combination between a gun and a sort of air horn, but I think that's insufficiently noir.
Sure. Well, I know the normal rounds from watching the films. The normal rounds make like a big kind of like old-fashioned pistol crack kind of noise, and let's say the sonic one literally booms. Like the windows on the spinner like rattle, and like the rain that's been coming down like shimmers off every surface as you fire it. The lead individual attacking kind of like reels back, and you can see that like part of the their shoulder where like all their padding is. Obviously it's a sonic round, so it's not like going to penetrate, but it has like you can see that part of their like the padding is like torn apart, and they're kind of like just like leaning to one side and kind of trying to bring the gun back up. But you definitely hit, and you know they definitely felt it.
Hurt. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, let's go with Olsen. So Olsen, you have more than sonic rounds in your blaster. Yeah, it's worth noting, by the way, because you've got a few options here. You have, I think you have sonic rounds as well, but you don't have the sonic blast. You have the regular 44, which is pretty good. But you also have the and I might get mocked for not saying this the way people normally say it again, but you have the .222 rifle round as well. Because if you look at the image of a blaster, it has two barrels. And the like almost underslung one is the regular 44, and there's one over the top for a long range bolt action shot. So you would literally have to load the round every time you do it to fire, but that's more long range. I'm sure there are multiple reasons why having that wouldn't particularly work physically, but that's how the blaster works in Blade Runner. Yeah, I
do also have my by even better gun in the spinner.
Have the assault rifle, yeah. And if you want to, like, you're right. I pictured you standing at the door of the spinner, right? Like maybe the door's up and you were just there, like talking on your KIA. I'm happy for you to reach in, grab the assault rifle. I'm not fussed about unclipping the things and whatever. I'm happy for you to just pull it out and start blazing. I'm not, because I'm not too bothered. Oh, you're on mute.
If I can get it and shoot it, that's what I want to do.
Yeah,
because there's a few of these guys as well, aren't there? It's not just like one. It's like 4 or 5.
You can see two of them.
Okay,
they're the two who've emerged from the spinner so far. It's actually interesting talking about the assault rifle is interesting. It's actually got a lower crit than your blaster 44 rounds, but you can fire it on full auto, and it does have a longer range. And the flip side of that is if they close on you, it'll actually be less good than your blaster. So
yeah, but I think I'd like to try it. Seems fun.
Sure, absolutely. So here's the question: are you firing it on full auto?
Yes.
Yes.
What kind of question is that, Matt?
So how full auto works is, I believe, and I will bring up the full rules just to be sure. But I believe how it works is that you automatically get an advantage on the roll, and you can split damage. Yeah, you get an advantage to the roll. You can distribute any additional damages you roll beyond the first to secondary targets within short range of the primary target. So you can spread the damage around if you want. Yeah, is basically how it works. The first damage assigned to a secondary target inflicts damage equal to the damage rating of the weapon, and further damage assigned to a secondary target triggers extra damage and critical hits as normal. You do, however, gain a point of stress from going full auto. So this is a mechanic entirely lifted from the Alien TTRPG, I think, where it was. I'm sure there's definitely in one of our one shots there, Alex has used it with a smart rifle or something. So yeah. So you're going full auto. In that case, roll firearms with advantage. That is
advantage. A second lower dice, is that right?
Yeah, you get whatever is your lower dice, you get a second of.
Okay. This is what I'm good at. So this is a D12 and 2 D10s.
Nice. This could be quite fun then.
That was all. I got a 4, and a 1.
Oh no!
I think
that makes me so sad.
Think you might push yourself. Yep.
I could have, if I get one more stress. Like if either of these are a 1, I'm out.
Do you just are you gonna like let her burst off and then go catatonic on the floor? Is that like how that works?
It's like impossible right now. Oh god. Okay, that's better. I got a 10, so
that's two successes.
Two successes.
And no
now.
ones.
So
no
do you want to split those successes so you hit both of them? Or do you want both of them to hit one person, which will crit?
I think going for the crit is probably more.
I think it probably is as well.
More useful.
Yeah. In which case, so that person will automatically take. Do you think because you like full autoed it? Are you aiming for a specific person? Like, I think this is all happening so fast that I'd be loath to say, unlike, a sim room combat where you're like, oh, well, we'll pile the damage on one person to, target, focus. Like, I think this is so chaotic you'd have a difficult time intentionally doing that.
I think if Olsen had the gun out to start with, I think she probably would have aimed at a person. But I think because she was also, like, scrambling in the spinner, pulled it out and just fired it, then I think for sure
do you want to roll randomly for it then, and we'll see which one of these two people it applies to that you can see.
Sure. I roll a D6 and the lower closer.
Yep.
That's a 2. So the closest person.
Your rounds hit the person that was hit by Percival already. So for a start, that just straight up gives them 3 damage to begin with.
Nice.
But then what you'll do is roll on the crit table. So the crit for the Ender Assault Rifle is a D10, I believe.
Yes.
And it's piercing. So what you'll do, if you roll a D10 for the piercing crit table, and I'll tell you what happens.
That's a 6.
That is a 6. Okay. Your rounds kind of spray across them and they sort of reel back and kind of clutch at their head, but they don't drop. They're kind of clutching at their head with one hand and kind of trying to lift and fire with their weapon with the other, but like they're definitely not properly, you haven't headshot them. But there's definitely, you can see even from this distance, like their spinner is parked in a place where I think I said the rain had stopped, but like there's water like sluicing off the kind of corrugated metal of some kind of merchant store nearby. The merchant desperate, like everyone is like screaming and running away from all this. But like you can, with the water sluicing down on them, you can see kind of blood mixing in with it in their hand as they're kind of trying to level their rifle at you, but. It seems quite difficult for them, but they are still up and running.
Okay.
So I just want to very quickly check something here. Very quickly check something. No, okay. Yeah, that's fine. I don't think there's anything weirdly about if you take a critical injuries have an effect, right? They do a certain like give you certain disadvantages and debuffs. There's nothing in there about like if you take a crit, you then can't take your turn or something like a stun, like a temporary stun or whatever. So I'm just going to assume that isn't the case, and we'll move on ahead. So we're on to their turn. For a start, you can see a third individual getting out of the spinner and readying their weapon, but they don't have a chance to shoot. Oh, Olsen, you didn't mention your movement, but I'm assuming you were doing the same thing as Percival and getting behind. Yeah.
Getting as much cover as I can.
Getting as much cover as you can. Okay. Well, they are going to shoot back at you both, and in a very organized fashion, each of them is going to shoot at one of you. One of them is going to shoot. Here's an interesting. The disadvantages stack in this game. I can't imagine how they would, really.
I think they don't. I think I've read that they don't.
Yeah, it makes sense that they wouldn't, because how would they? Like, how you only got one die to take away, right? So, yeah. I can imagine it be like, I guess you'd roll twice and take the lowest with the die that remains.
I mean, I guess that's how you do it if you did that, but I haven't seen anything like that in the book.
No. Well, having talked a big game at the beginning of the case file about not adjusting the rules, and we like to play, I'm gonna do that. That's what I'm gonna do, because I think it makes sense to give someone who's just endured a cracked skull like an extra disadvantage. Like, I think that, and if it was you, I'm gonna do it to you as well. So I think that's perfectly reasonable. If you've just been shot in the fucking head, your next shot is not going to be great, I think. So there we go. So that's what I'm going to do. I am going to roll randomly to see which one that is. Okay, it's the person shooting at Percival who is going to roll at a double disadvantage. Let's see what happens here. And that double disadvantage means that they do not hit, because they would have otherwise.
I'm okay with that.
So the person reeling with kind of blood coming down from their head lets off a wild shot in your direction, Percival, and like you hear it like speed through the air near you, but it definitely doesn't hit you. Olsen, just a single disadvantage. Okay, so that's a hit. It is, however, not a crit, so that's good. In which case, Olsen, you're like, because you're like just moving back around the side of the spinner, having like dragged the assault rifle out, I'm gonna say you feel a white hot searing moment of pain in the back of your calf as you kind of like move around the back, and you look down and see that I think Olsen's wear. Tell me what trousers Olsen wears.
Olsen is wearing kind of like tactical cargo pants kind of thing, like slightly futuristic cargo pants.
Sure.
Like,
so bulletproof cargo pants.
They're futuristic cargo pants, which means they're not baggy ones. That's what I take from that. And maybe they've got ribbed bits in them.
Did I not mention my calf armor, Matt? What
you didn't, and it's too late now. All calf armor must be declared at the start of play. You know that. I'm disappointed I have to tell you again. So yeah, you can look down and see like your cargo pants kind of just below the knee at the back. They are soaking red already. But it's not too serious, you don't think. Probably really fucking hurts though. So let's go back round to the beginning of the initiative order. Let's go Percival again, and it's worth mentioning anyone can at any time give up their place in the initiative order and swap it with a later place in the initiative order. I can't imagine that we particularly want to do that in this scenario, but
I am okay with not doing that.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so Percival, you're in the same place, hunkered behind the spinner. The person who got shot by both of you looks kind of the worse for wear.
Okay.
The other two look fresh.
I am going to aim for the injured one again.
Mm-hmm.
The thinking is if we can drop one of them, that might be enough shock and awe to make them reconsider.
Right? Yeah, perfectly sensible, I think.
So let's see. Agility, firearms, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's give me dice. Ooh, that's 2 6s.
Nice. That's a crit.
Oh.
A crushing crit, but a crit nevertheless. So for a start, well, I say that, but let's the damage you deal to them puts them out. Full stop. However, that just downs them, right? Let's see what happens to them with your crit. So what is the crit die on your Sonic Blast?
It's a D10. So let's go roll one of those.
Yep.
6 again.
That's a 6. And unfortunately, then that's a concussion. So it's kind of, piling the old head damage on top. You lean out to the side, round the spinner, let off a shot, and it thuds with an unpleasant crunching sound into the side of their head. They almost cartwheel over the curb. It sprawl into the merchant's stand and collapse onto the ground. You can see that one of their arms is faintly reaching up, but they will have no further part to play in this combat. And you think unless some serious medical attention is delivered to them, they're probably not long for this world.
Wonderful. Yeah. And then movement is... Well, I'm not going anywhere, so I guess to whatever extent I can have done that, and then also hunker down as best I can.
Yeah, narratively you can do it real well. Mechanically, it doesn't make a difference. But
cool.
So Olsen, there's now 2 of them. There may be more in the spinner. There's certainly you could fit a couple more for sure. But the 2 of them. For a start, I think Percival fired off and hunkered down. You've got more of a chance to see the aftermath of it, maybe. So why don't you give me an observation roll?
Okay. Observation. Okay.
Actually, no. I'm going to change my mind. Give me an insight roll, which is far worse. For you.
Insight, still a D8 and a D6. I'm only good at shooting people. Nope.
No, never mind. It's fine. Go for it.
Olsen's gonna shoot the one who has shot at us, not the new one that's come out, and is not gonna shoot a full auto because that would be my last point of stress.
Yeah, that would be good. So, with that in mind, give me a roll.
Okay. That's a 12 and a 2.
Ooh. So that's a crit off the bat. So that's going to deal 3 damage straight up. And then why don't you roll on your D10, right? On the crit table for me.
Yeah. Okay. That's an 8.
That's an 8. So you twist. You kind of you found a good position. The spinner doors come upwards, right? And you found a good position, kind of edged round to the side, where you can lean the end of your hand holding the barrel of your rifle on that crux and gives you a good steady shot. You line it up and squeeze the trigger, and a thud and a spray of arterial blood ricochets out from the back of one of the the individuals' heads, and they reel backwards and collapse on the ground.
Nice.
Okay. The last individual is going to pause for 1 second and then quickly backpedal and duck inside the spinner. The doors on it are coming down.
Does the spinner have any identifying marks on it, or
none?
Cool. I also don't know how spinners work mechanically. If this was traditional cars, this might be the point that we would start trying to shoot the tires out. But I don't imagine
you can't
tires.
You can't do that, and because of the nature of them, obviously, any significant damage would be absolutely catastrophic to the people inside it. I'm going to say that, like, you know, small arms fire doesn't basically do anything to spinner. Like, Ryan Gosling's gets taken down with a fucking rocket launcher in the second one, right? Like, I think there's a reason they were using a rocket launcher.
Yeah, a sonic blaster's not quite gonna do it.
No, it looks like it's been reinforced as well, for what it's worth. Just before the door goes down on the other side, you hear like the report of I should have probably said that their assault rifles were suppressed. Yeah, I learned. And you hear like the thud of a suppressed round going off, and the individual that was like concussed and generally kind of like just downed in general, their body kind of like spasms and they go still.
I was really hoping they would forget that.
The spinner starts to lift off.
Alton is going to shoot at it, even if it's just to leave a bullet like mark somewhere on it that we could maybe.
Hey, that's not a terrible idea. Yeah, nice. Yeah, you managed to do that. It's a big target, and it takes a few seconds to like lift and fly off, but pretty soon it's gone in the Los Angeles skyline.
You okay?
Oh, they got me, but I'll be all right. We need to call this in. Get on to dispatch.
Sure.
Is it safe to say, Inga, that Percival and Olsen's KIAs have a call pending on them?
Probably 2 calls.
No.
Did they even hang? Did they even hang up?
I think I said the call was terminated.
It was cut off. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think I knew where they were. So can I have already called it in to RDU and be on my way to them now?
Absolutely. You absolutely can be. But I think it like I can imagine a KA having like a call like connect the call when the call can be connected, like, kind of thing.
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
It's just, it's fairly old. Like Skype had that, so I'm pretty sure the KIAs had that. Yeah, so
famously built off of Skype. Yeah,
absolutely. So Percival and Olsen, you have like Fenner's ID is like blinking on your KIAs. Willem's is not.
Okay, I will hit the answer button.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, Steve, wow. What to do already. Nice.
Don't bow to the pressure, Steve.
We're okay. We've downed 2 of them. The others escaped.
Who was that?
We don't know.
Unmarked spinner.
Wait.
Yeah, unmarked spinner looks like someone's got themselves a private army.
I've called it in, and I'm on my way to you right now. But you're both all right.
Alston's hurt, I think, but she says she's gonna live.
Yeah, I could use a doctor, but I'm not. Nothing too bad.
You say you down 2 of them. Have you got? Who are they?
Let's go see. I'll kind of wander over to them. Like, I will search them. I imagine they don't have much on them, but like, will demask them and use the KIA to take pictures of their faces.
Yeah, absolutely. You can do that. We haven't really introduced it as a concept, but there's probably one more thing that a Blade Runner would almost instinctively do.
Check to see if they're replicants.
Do we know how we can do that? They have a serial number basically tattooed on the very bottom of the whites of their eyes. Like you have to pull down the lower eyelid to. They do not have serial numbers on their eyes.
Okay. They're humans. These are their faces.
Do we recognize the faces? Any of us?
No, not at all. It's a man and a woman. You've never seen them before. They're looking pretty good. Like they're pretty big, like pretty athletic. Their gear looks pretty good, but it's very anonymous.
They finished off one of their own. Not being caught is part of the deal.
Yeah, that's not too surprising, I suppose.
Yeah, I'm willing to bet that if we run these people through the mainframe, they don't exist. So we could try.
I mean, I guess the question is why. We've obviously got too close to something. Someone's trying to silence something.
Maybe Leah's involved in something bigger.
They must have known who we are as well. Like they didn't even ask. They didn't ask a question. They didn't ask for anything. They didn't. No. There was no talk.
They found us here. They knew who we were. They knew why we were here. Well, they may not have known why. They knew that we were here.
I don't like to say this, but that could mean RDU connection, not necessarily Leah. She's not.
At this point, there's no way of telling. It seems pretty brazen right outside Bullet Bob's. I mean, this is, this is not a completely anonymous nowhere location.
It doesn't. I don't think it tracks with. Well, in public, I guess, both does track with Leah and the Sandor situation, but that felt so scrappy, reactive, unplanned. And I was going to say before the call got cut off, if there is a romantic connection between Leah and Styles, maybe it's as simple as that. Maybe that's why she shot Sandor. If Sandor pulled his weapon on Styles, especially if she's got this traumatic memory, if it's triggered something in her to protect a loved one.
You think this could be Styles trying to protect Leah?
No, I don't think this is it. I don't think this kind of like Black Ops style thing, I don't think makes sense with a possible act of passion like that from Leah. But Black Ops corporation stuff, we've been sniffing around Lilith memory. We've been like Wallace Corp, we know is unhappy about some stuff that's been going down.
Lilith and Wallace have been open books with us, though, as far as we can tell. Like I didn't get any sense that they want our help with this, don't they?
They want our help protecting their reputation. That's the thing that's important to them.
Oh, so
they don't want the truth. They want to protect their assets. They want to protect the things that are important to them.
So that kill.
I don't know.
That kill headline goes out, and suddenly we're targets.
I mean, the thing is, there's not that many people with like this. Feels like corpo shit to me, and like who else would want to get involved in something like this?
I think it's
but yeah. I don't think they've really got this kind of resource. Maybe
someone's got resources and someone's got connections, and that does point to Corpo. But I can't see Lilith or Wallace. Not without more evidence.
No, it's totally this is a theory without evidence. Completely. I'm not gonna try and argue you on that. But I think there's something there that we might want to.
And I'm happy at that point, Fenna, your spinner starting to touch down at Hawker's circle, near where they are, and I'll say a couple of other members of like non-RDU LAPD are also touching down to attend the scene, and it looks like one of them is looking to patch up Olsen's leg, which will have no mechanical effect. It's just, you know.
Oh, I was going to offer to do just that after this call, aware that
you can absolutely do that, but first, like healing rolls only affect crits; they don't affect general.
Right. In that case, I will hang up the call as I appear in person. And is Novak on the way?
As you say that, Fenny, you take a look at your KIA, and I imagine you'd have a call like sending through to Novak as well, right? Or maybe Purcell and Olsen do. And all of you can note that for some reason, Novak is not picking up. And at that point, let's go to Willem Novak. So you were...
Oh, good.
You'd left the Aurelian shop in Anemoid Row, and you were on the call with the others when things kicked off. Where did you decide where you are? Like, were you in your spinner as well, or by your spinner, or like, or eating some noodles?
As has literally already been pointed out in the chat. Definitely Novak was chilling by his spinner, eating some noodles for sure.
Absolutely. And while you're doing that, we're going to go back in time to that call. The call cuts off chaotically in the way it did before, and I would like you to make an observation roll.
Oh boy. Okay. Let me get my sheet up here. That is going to be a pretty good one for me. That's a D in a D12. Now, you push after, right, if it goes badly?
Yeah, correct.
Right. But you can't push if you do snake eyes like I did last time.
No, because you only re-roll things that aren't a 1. So.
Right, yeah, it makes sense. Okay. Observation here, right. That is a 2 and a 7.
Okay, so that's a success. In that case, you like. I don't think the call. I think the call terminated before they could describe like exactly what was happening. But you notice an all black, reinforced, suspicious-looking spinner touching down near you, and at least a couple of people bundling out of it in kind of Black Ops gear. They're looking around, and one of them fixes their eyes on you. But you've spotted them before, like you know, they're not guns up like the others were. But it seems an easy, intuitive leap to make.
Oh boy. Okay. I think Willem would have the experience to sort of, momentary assessment of what he's seeing and what he just heard on the KIA to just bolt. I think he just bolts immediately.
Sure. Yeah, I think that's perfectly reasonable. In which case, you would have thought, wouldn't you, that I would have revised the chase rules in this as it being a definite potential of this happening. So the following procedure is used each round of the chase. Each participant selects a maneuver in secret. I randomly generate an obstacle and reveal it, and the pursuer and prey both reveal a maneuver, and then the maneuvers are resolved.
The maneuvers like prefab things in the book that I need to find.
Yeah. If you go to page, have you got the core rules or the starter rules?
I believe I have the core. I should have everything.
Yeah, then go to page 82, and that's the PDF and the actual page numbers are the same in this.
Oh, that's a miracle. That never happens.
Yeah, I know, right? It is good. And now all these chase things also have cards, which I'm going to have to do. I'm assuming yours is going to be flee.
It sounds like a flea, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. It does sound like a flea.
It's got flea vibes. Yeah.
So the next thing I need to do, like, and it is meant to be like secret, but you did say you bolt. So that
Yeah, I
seems
mean,
pretty.
I don't know how
pretty
you
straightforward.
secretly sprint in plain view away from.
Yeah, I think it's more that like the pursuer and the prey have to like.
I mean, just to clarify, I did consider, because I'm supposedly stood next to my spinner.
Mhm.
I did consider getting into the spinner, but I don't know if that's like a slow process.
It is slower than raising and shooting a rifle.
Exactly,
sure.
right. So it
Yeah.
seemed like a mistake. So okay,
Yeah.
I just wasn't sure if I'd made an immediate mistake there by overestimating how long that takes. But
No, I think that's very valid. Okay, I'm going to randomly generate an obstacle, by which I mean I'm going to shuffle these and then draw one, because I'm not sure if there's. Oh, there is a fucking. It's very nice to have these cards. Really, thank you. But their use is limited if I haven't actually prepared. Which is my fault, not theirs. Foot chase of obstacles. Fortunately, there is just a table as well. Ooh. Okay. You bolt away from the individuals emerging from the spinner and kind of run around. You're in Animoid Row, so it's actually quite a similar environment to Hawker's Circle, but much more focused in the kind of shops and storefronts and stuff around you. You bolt past the Aurelian shop and down, like round a corner, round another corner. You can hear the pursuit behind you. You're not sure at this stage whether it's like whether it's gaining or not, but as you round a final corner onto like a larger, more open street, you see that there is currently a street protest with banners blocking the road. They have various empathy movement and anti-replicant slogans daubed on them, and you can see more than a few of them have copies of the latest Kill magazine tucked into their pockets. This was a random result, but appropriate. One of them kind of turns and sees you kind of like running and desperately trying to like weave your way around this large obstacle in the middle of the road. They seem quite drunk, and they sort of jeer insults at you and have clearly entirely misinterpreted the situation, because as you try and like lose yourself in the crowd, they take a step back and start shouting at your pursuers where you are, because they think there is a non-zero chance that you are a fleeing replicant.
interesting.
So now what we will do is roll for so the range is probably medium. Yeah. So let's have you roll mobility, please, but roll it at a disadvantage.
Right.
Because of that asshole.
That asshole. And I'm
randomly
not
generated asshole.
You know, I'm in my more distinguished years here. Novak's not the fastest. So does that mean I roll twice and take the worst?
No, it means you roll. You lose your lower die.
Lose the lower die. Okay, well that's D6. So that's not a great loss. Mobility, so D10 and D6. Oh boy, that's a 2. I think I might push that.
Sure.
Sorry, so if I'm pushing and I've lost my D6, am I rolling a D6 back in, or am I re-rolling the D?
No,
just re-rolling the single D10 that I rolled.
Yeah.
Okay. That's another 2.
There we go. Okay, they are not far behind you now at all.
Do I take a stress for the push?
Yes, you take a no. You only take stress from pushing. You take
roll
stress
a 1.
equal to how many ones
right.
you end up. Actually, I don't even think it's that. I think it's just you take 1 stress if there are any ones.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah. They are now within short range behind you. So pretty close, it has to be said. You've made it past this street protest. And again, we are like rolling. We're going to see what maneuver you're doing. So you again secretly select a maneuver from that list.
Can it be any? Because some of them say like driving and.
Yeah, the thing, like the skill you roll, the one in the brackets is if you're in a spinner.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So you secretly select the one you're going for. I secretly select which one I'm going for. And we'll also roll a ground chase obstacle. So let me do that. Okay. Okay. So what did you select?
I think I'm going to go with stand and shoot, not necessarily with a view to trying to like win, but to force them to like duck back, maybe slow them down.
Sure, you know, absolutely.
Because I'm in a bad spot at the moment.
Absolutely. Well, they also selected to stand and shoot. And I think the obstacle I rolled has no effect if we're standing and shooting. And okay. If we're standing and shooting, honestly, I think we just go into a combat rather than a chase.
Okay.
So, because everyone is standing and shooting, so I think we're in combat.
Yeah, that figures.
So, with that in mind, let's go into initiative. As you turn and stand and shoot, you see that you have 3 pursuers. Do you want from the top of the deck, the bottom of the deck, or do you want me to cut to the middle?
Cut to the middle, Matt.
Cut to the middle. Your initiative is 8. That's not particularly good.
Doesn't, yeah.
What do you want me to do for theirs?
Bottom. It's going to be really good.
You got a 1 in 5 chance of them getting lower, right?
Yeah.
It's 9.
Oh, bastards.
That's good. That means you go.
Oh, I thought higher was okay.
No,
right. Okay.
He's number 1 is first person.
I see. Okay, right.
Okay, you've got 3 people coming towards you. They're not in cover. Clearly, you're not in cover. You just stopped. It's a busy enough street that you could move to cover if you wanted. Although I think the stand and shoot is just a ranged attack first. So I'm going to say in this first round, no one can move. Everyone's just standing and shooting, right? And then in the next round, people cannot start to move. So you're in open ground. They're in open ground. I take it you're shooting them. I mean, you said
I am doing that. Should we resolve? Because like I don't necessarily want to just. Because like I feel like Novak sees these guys and he can see that they're clearly well equipped and I guess look armored to some extent. So I don't know that he would just try to duke it out. I think it would be like, well, can I shoot one in the leg and slow them down and so that kind of thing. But I guess we'll roll first and then resolve.
Well, there are like kind of called shots. Yeah, you can try and pin people down. You can try and your target drops a weapon or another handheld object. I think games have this all the time, and I'm like that. You can't do that.
Yeah.
You can make them fall to the ground or get pushed back. That sounds like so if you're looking for a leg shot, that seems like a fair thing to do. You're trying to like knock one of them prone with a shot.
Yeah, I think so because I don't think he wants to just sort of stupidly go, oh well, I'll just shoot them and try to kill them because that doesn't really help.
I will say though, if your attack roll succeeds on a called shot, you inflict no damage, but instead achieve the desired result.
Right. Okay. Oh, it's a tough call between.
I mean, you could just go, well, I'll try and make an actual damage shot because that might kill one of them.
Yeah, okay, we'll do that because it's a powerful handgun, and I don't know. I'm in my head maybe I've built them up as being visually more like hard to you know, effectively fight as maybe they actually are. Like they're well equipped, but they're not like impervious, right? So clearly,
Well, clearly the others kill 2 of them.
yeah.
So
But
we'll
Novak
find
doesn't know that, right? So it's
out.
just kind of,
No,
I mean,
it's
like,
true.
yeah, okay.
And you're still in short range, so it is worth noting that your pistol will be better than their rifles. They're going to be rolling at a disadvantage because you're too close for their rifles, essentially. So you're on mute, by the way.
I was just saying, clearly I should rush all 3 of them then.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's make an attack roll for you. So that'll be your agility and your firearms.
Yeah, let me just find that. Okay, yeah, this is more my area. I've jinxed it now though, so and I don't have a disadvantage or advantage or anything. It's just the straight roll.
Yep.
D10 and D12.
It's not bad.
That's a 1 and an 11.
Well, the 11's good. That's a crit. It's right off the bat. So I'm assuming you're firing a 44 round.
I am. Yeah. Going for damage.
Yep, absolutely. So that's for a start, because it's 2 successes. It's an immediate 3 damage to the one in the front, but you also get a crit on them. So do you want to roll me is it a D12? It's a D12 crit on the piercing crit on the thing on the blaster. So,
yes, it is 12 D12 crit die.
Yeah, well, give me a D12
special
roll then, please.
Oh boy, it's a 12. Is that good?
Yeah. You shoot. You pull the trigger, and the side of their head explodes.
Okay, glad I went for that, not the leg shot. Okay,
and they spin and reel and crash to the floor. Okay, now it is there.
This is my least favorite part, where I do a good thing and then immediately am shot in the face.
Yeah. No, I get that. Okay, that's okay.
I don't like the eyebrow movement, Matt.
Yeah. Well, before we start talking about damage, I've got a crit to roll.
Fuck.
Oh, no.
So let's see what happens here. That was that. Okay. Okay. Well, so
new character. Reroll.
Not quite yet. So 2 of them shoot at you. You feel like a searing pain in your arm, and then an explosion of pain and then numbness in your chest. The world kind of like tilts crazily, and it's a few seconds before you realize you're on the ground. You can't particularly move your limbs. The roll, if you're interested, is massive internal organ damage.
Oh, good.
You can't stand upright. Crawling is the only possible mode of movement.
Awesome.
We are going to go a bit narrative here, though.
Okay.
Because I have plans.
Within plans.
Within plans. So you kind of the world kind of starts vaguely coming back into shape, and you can see that the 2 individuals are kind of like walking slowly towards you, guns still trained on you. You hear the one at the back say in a muffled voice, "Better be sure." And then the one in the front kind of like lifts their gun up, and then there is all your senses are kind of dulled in this current state. There is a muffled crack, and they kind of reel to one side, stagger, and drop to the floor. as the other one, the one behind, kind of like turns around to see what's happened. Presumably they've been shot. That's certainly what it looks like. A tall, powerful figure leaps and bounds from a nearby kind of like an alleyway that's leading off this main promenade. Pick up the individual left entirely bodily and slam them into the opposite wall once, twice, 3 times, and on the 3rd time there is a sickening crunch and they go limp. The tall figure turns back towards you, takes a couple of steps in your direction, kind of looks down around, like looks around to see who's there. Not many people are there. People are scattering. And they make a sort of kind of slightly reluctant and fatigued tutting noise. And then you black out in pain as Styles lifts you bodily, puts you over his shoulder, and walks into the nearby alleyway.
Okay. Nice. I like Styles a bit more than I did 5 minutes ago.
There we go. So we will. I'm going to say that's covers, because this all happened at the beginning of a shift, right? Now I'm going to be generous. I think according to the rules, I'd probably say that's the shift, right? I'm going to say that's the shift for Novak, but I'm going to say that Percival, Fenner, and Olsen can do one more thing in this shift, but only together. Gonna be nice. Okay. So you're at Hawker's Circle. You are all 3 of you together. Novak is not answering his KIA. There could be many reasons why that's the case that aren't to do with Black
massive
Ops,
internal Black
military.
Organ.
Yeah.
Novak's been around a while, but it feels bad that you guys have just been targeted, and now we can't get hold of Novak as well. He was at Animoid Row, right?
That's where he said he was going.
God,
That's
so
that's where he was from on the that's where he was on the call. Do we want to go there?
Maybe we can keep trying him on the do we need to try and track these guys down? Maybe that's
Against the Esper wall. We could put out another APB.
It's worth noting that the Esper wall is only really good for street level things.
So once the spinners take off, they kind of disappear.
Mm-hmm.
Can we search? I mean,
you can search on your KIAs right now to see if their faces come up, if that's what you're asking.
I mean, search their bodies. Like, I'm assuming they have absolutely nothing on them. But like...
And you would be 100% correct. There is literally nothing on them but their guns, some spare ammo, and the clothes they are wearing.
Cool. Well, if we're not going to Animoid Road to physically look for Novak, then looking up putting out a check for the photos on the KIA, futile though it seems, is probably the thing that makes sense. Like it's kind of the only lead we have, right?
I agree we need to do that, but I think there's less urgency in that than... I mean, Novak's probably fine, but I still feel like we should go and check.
Yeah.
Just in case. I think... they knew we'd come here. Maybe they were following us from RDU, or maybe they have some way of knowing where we're going, but it feels bad that we can't get hold of Novak right now.
Yeah, I agree. And I think you're right. I think these guys are a blank slate. I don't think these guys are going to come up. We can try it later maybe, but if nothing else, like they found you, like it was pursuing this case that attracted their attention. If nothing else, maybe that tells us that we're on the right trail. I don't know who's behind it, but it tells us that we're doing something right in our investigation. So maybe getting distracted from that investigation is the wrong thing to do, and we've got to stick to what we're doing. But I think we've got to try and get hold of Novak. We can try and just keep calling him.
I am happy for your KIAs to read reports of gunfire exchanged on Anemoid Row. But it also notes that everyone, basically it's over, and there are 3, like the police report says 3 dead John Doe. Like if Novak was one of the ones killed, it would know it immediately. They'd have immediately tagged.
Do KIAs transmit their location in a way that you know, we might be able to see where other are the okay? That'd be too easy, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Note to self.
If you want the reasoning, post blackout, there's not much kind of like satellite.
Oh sure, yeah, we're massive shortage of the kind of infrastructure we take for granted now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
That's something that I just made that up, but it seems appropriate to me.
No, that's entirely plausible.
Okay, it seems like maybe he's not in immediate danger, or well, it seems like maybe he's not. Maybe he's okay, but we don't know where. If he's not been among these John Does, then shit.
How far are we from Android Row?
Anemoid Row. I mean, not far. You can definitely go there with in your spinner if you want to. But like, there's an LAPD team there. It probably feels like I'm trying to dissuade you from going there because there's nothing you can do. That's because there's think about it though. If you go there, what can you do?
Can we contact is there a way for us to get on our KAs?
Those people, yeah. You can get on the radio to them. Yeah. If you want to feel like you've somehow tried to go after Novak. If you want to get on the radio with them, that's absolutely fine, and maybe that can be a thing. I am just hyper aware that the clock is ticking, and that I've given you this extra thing, and if your thing is going to go and not find Novak, like that, yeah, that's all. I'll be a nice game runner.
If the immediate priority is not go to Anemoid Row and try and fail to find Novak, then before all this started, the immediate priority was we think Leah may be headed for possibly like some kind of spaceport or trying to get off world. Is there a way that we can head her off at the pass there? Was, I think, where the conversation was going before all the shooting broke out.
Mm-hmm. There's also the lead with Doc Badger.
Or Doc Badger, yeah.
We've got the APB out for Leah. In theory, I mean, she might be able to slip past somehow, but in theory, she shouldn't be able to get off world now. She should be locked. Is that right, Matt? I'm not making that up.
If there's an APB going through like regular channel, going
she should flag,
off
right?
world through regular channel, she should flag, assuming she is recognizable.
Yeah. So I think that's hope that, I mean, that hopefully has it covered. Maybe we'd see something that others wouldn't, but I mean, we can't just hang around all day looking for someone trying to get off world. Like, I think we've got to try and figure out what's actually behind all of this. And actually, if Novak's got out of whatever that situation was at Anemoid Row, maybe he needs to keep quiet. Maybe that's why he's not answering his KIA. Maybe he needs radio silence right now. I don't know. I don't want to draw more attention to him either. Maybe we do have to just run down, like, this pawn shop, Doc Brown. Sorry, did I just
Doc
make
Brown?
up that name?
I mean, you didn't make it up.
Where-
It's from Back to the Future, but
Yeah. What is the actual name of the
Doc
place?
Badger.
Doc Badger.
Doc Badger.
I mean, badgers are
Oh,
sometimes
dear.
brown.
Yeah.
Everybody hop in the
Um,
DeLorean. We're going back and we're stopping Leah from shooting Sandra.
Hey,
in the first
DeLoreans
place.
also have the up and down doors, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Coincidence?
Yeah. Yeah, if we're on the right trail here, maybe we've got to double down on this trail. I don't know what this photo is gonna.
Well, let's go
Oh,
find Doc Badger is the strongest lead we have right now.
And do you know where Doc Badgers is?
No,
Hawker's Circle.
right here.
Right here.
Okay.
How convenient. And in the meantime, while you're on your way there, Olsen, why don't you have a call with one of the LAPD officers on the scene in Animoid Row? I have no problem with that whatsoever.
Okay, sure.
Because you're the one who seemed to give a shit about your fellow officer. All the others were so easily persuaded. Kidding.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh.
Your KAA picks up, like, they don't have KAAs, right? Regular beat cops and detectives don't have KAAs, but they have, like, each spinner has, like, a vid phone, right? So it kind of crackles and you can see, like, an older officer kind of pick up, and she kind of, like, peers into the vid phone. They're often in bad shape in, like, regular beat cop spinners, and she's kind of peering into it, and she goes, yes, sir. I'm on the scene, Animoid Row.
It's Detective Backer here. We're concerned about one of our colleagues. Can you ID the people who have been injured? Is there any RDU people there?
No, we can't find any. We can't get any IDs, sir. There were 3 dead. And 2 of them have been shot. And another one it looks like they had the back of their head smashed in. But none of them are coming up on our database. They were all wearing black, like, military outfits. But
Right.
there is something else near them, but not right by them. There was a lot of blood on the pavement.
But no sign of any other casualties.
No, sir. I'm sorry. There's a protest, sir. They're being very loud.
Right. Is there a spinner nearby? Or are there any 2 spinners nearby?
Not right at the scene, no.
See if you can find a spinner for a detective from the RDU. There might be one around. And if there's an all-black unmarked spinner, try and lock that down as well.
What's the name on the spinner, sir?
Novak would be Novak.
We'll look nearby.
All right. Give me a call back on this number if you find it. Or the unmarked one.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That was productive.
I was
that
good.
Minute. It was productive.
Good thinking on locking down the unmarked spinner. That's good.
Okay. The 3 of you are walking through Hawker's Circle until you'll find yourself in it's a pretty small, like, it's a shop that's in like a kind of arcade, like, I guess, like a kind of mall, but a very, like, rundown, battered, old kind of, like, arcade of stores. I'm thinking, like, what I have in my head, and this is unnecessary background detail from my life, there is, like, an arcade of shops, or was, that might not be there anymore, in Leeds, a city in England where I lived for a while. And basically you went in and it was kind of like, oh, this is just a kind of generic, slightly rundown arcade of shops. And then you went off to one side and it was literally like you'd stepped into, like, an 18th century market. Like, everything looked battered, and there was never anyone walking around there, but the shops were somehow still there, and they were all sell weird shit. And it's like that, but that's the whole thing, right? And off to one side, you come to Doc Badger's pawn shop. There is a man sat in there, and let me get an image of him, because this game doesn't have enough image handouts. Doc Badger looks like that. He's a relatively young individual, and as you walk into the store, he greets you quite cheerfully in Somali, which I'm more than happy for. I think Blade Runner will probably speak more or less every one of the very common melting pot languages in LA, and Somali is quite a common one. So he kind of greets the first of you quite effusively, and then as the three of you come in, all with, you know, blasters slung on your side and KIAs mounted on your wrists, looks a little bit more somber, but still seems to be, you know, asking if he can help you.
Did we take the photo from the apartment? Do we have it?
Yeah, Olsen took the photo.
Cool.
In that case, I think Olsen's going to produce the photo and say, we're looking for more information on this photo, where it came from, who purchased it, that sort of thing.
I mean, sure. He reaches across the small cluttered space. It's filled to the brim with everything from useless knickknacks to advanced tech, all of it dusty, all of it well used, and kind of like he plucks the photo and like flips it over immediately to look at the back, and kind of nods slowly and passes it back over to you and says, it's pretty bad for business for me to give information about clients.
Can I take a look at just what other knickknacks and things that are around the shop?
Sure. I mean, there's nothing like this. There aren't any photos or anything like that. It's mostly kind of like what I call kind of like cultural junk, like, you know, like you find in a souvenir store, right? Little bits and pieces of the various cultures that are in Los Angeles, and you're bound to have like something that's just like, oh yeah, that's just, you know, a souvenir shop hat. To one culture, to another culture seems like exotic items of interest. But there's also a lot of very basic tech. You know, it's a pawn shop. People pawn what they can live without. And get the most money from, and there's a lot of very basic tech in here. Nothing like weapons or anything like that. It's like, you know, equivalents of like tablets and watches and things like this. But some of it is quite advanced, but all of it is pretty battered.
But nothing else that looks like it's like, yeah, either photos or otherwise like potentially might clock as a connection.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing looks excessively personal for sure. Yeah.
The place where we found this was the apartment of the prime suspect of a murder. I understand that you want to maintain some anonymity for your customers, but we wouldn't be asking if it wasn't important.
Do you want to make a manipulation check, Stephen?
I am not the person to have done that, but let's try. The D10, D6. Oh, there's a 7 in there.
There we go. Doc Badger kind of like, you see him kind of like scratch his cheek. Okay. I know when to play ball.
Thank you.
Who are you looking for? Just so I can be sure I'm giving you the right information.
Who sold this to you? How did you acquire this?
I didn't acquire it. I made it.
You made this? The frame or the photograph?
There is just worth noticing there is no frame because Olsen took it apart to bring it. But anyway, the photograph. He reaches down behind him and rummages around in some boxes and brings out a less dustier piece of tech than some others. It is a very rough, jury-rigged machine that seems to have like a like it has long cords on it that seem to have like, I don't know what the technical term for them is, like medical, you know, when like plasters or sensors are like placed on people's bodies in various ways. It has like those, and there's like, you can see there's a little tube of gel like affixed to the side of it for using with it. The rest of it looks like there's a big bulky area that looks like it's used for some like processing or computational thing, and on the back of it is what looks like a relatively decent for, you know, maybe the 1990s or 2000s photo grade printer. He says Stelline scan. It can make photos from memories.
Whose memory gave you this photograph?
She came in here once or twice. I don't know. Have you got a photo?
I'll show the
Or
photo.
description?
I'll show the photo of Leah.
Yeah, that's her. She said she was Nexus 9. Wanted a scan to review her implants. Small fee. I said sure. She asked for a hard copy printout of the memory she was looking at. That girl. She said it was her daughter. She was real upset.
How long ago was this?
A few weeks. But like when I say she was upset, she was real upset. I was a bit scared, honestly. I don't like to get in trouble with the law, right?
You're not in trouble. You've been very helpful in our investigation. Thank you. Matt, can I just double check? Did you say that he said that Leah had come in wanting a scan on his machine to review her implanted memories?
Mm-hmm.
When you say review her implanted her implants, what did that? Do you know what she meant by review her memories?
I mean, maybe ask Doc Badger.
Sorry, that's why I'm
oh yeah, sorry, I thought you were asking me.
Yeah.
She said she needed to know if they were real.
Did she say how she thought this scan or this photograph would help?
It wouldn't, but a Stelline scan can. They were implants, and I told her they were implants, and she got pretty upset. She said she wanted the hard copy. She wanted a picture of her daughter to remember her, and I didn't want to point out she wasn't real. And then she smashed up that stand over there and said, she shouted, "Who did this to me?" And then she left.
So she believed that those implants were real and wouldn't believe you when you told her otherwise.
No, I think she believed me. She just, I think she was just real messed up. And she knew she was Next 9. She should have known they were implants.
But somewhere emotionally, she was still feeling whatever the memories were stirring up.
I mean, I don't exactly blame her. It was some fucked up shit.
Matt, does the does this sort of few weeks ago line up with the time of Leah's baseline tests? Yeah.
You
haven't
said
seen her
she'd.
since.
Oh,
No. To be honest, if she came back, I'd kind of think about shutting the place before she walked through the door, you know?
had she been in here before?
Yeah, once or twice.
What does she want?
I can't remember. I think she was just looking around.
Hmm.
I can't remember. I'm sorry.
It's a big part of your business, this machine, these memories, these printouts.
It wasn't, but hey, you know, a year ago, the news came out. They're going to be on the streets. I thought maybe pull something together.
So who uses this? Does this work on humans? Is this just Nexus 9s?
It works on everyone.
Just you think of a memory, you can get a picture of it.
Yeah. You can get more from the Next Nines, though. They're clearer.
Is this
Okay?
Is this your tech, or is this commercially available? Where did this come from?
I hacked the printer onto it, but it's they're expensive. You can get them. This is an old Tyrell model. That's why the picture feed, the photos, they come out great. Picture feed a bit shaky. To be honest, when I was looking at that one, I was kind of thankful for it.
Olsen's going to show him a picture of Sandor and just ask if he's ever seen him.
No.
I know I don't have like a picture of her just from like the actual investigation, but could I KIA equivalent of Google for an image of actually no, she's on the newspaper, isn't she? Lilith Tyrell.
Yeah.
And show him a photo of that of Lilith and say, do you recognize her?
I don't. Is she her mother?
She's an M9. She doesn't have a mother.
Yeah, of course. They look real alike, though, huh?
They say everyone's got a doppelganger out there somewhere, don't they?
Look, detectives, I've got a business to run. Unless you got any other questions.
Thank you for your time. This has
been very helpful. Thank you.
Always happy to help. He gives you a not entirely convincing grin, and you head out of Doc Badger's.
Before we go, can I just like maybe do a roll or something to just get a general read of whether I think there's anything he might be holding back, or does that feel like he's been fairly like open book with us?
I'm generally usually fairly loath to do the supernatural, like, can I tell if someone's lying or not thing. But I did allow it with Novak and the Aurelian. So you know what? I will allow it here. I'll make it a contested roll to see if you feel he's holding back anything. Assuming I have stats for him. Let me find if I have stats for a Dog Badger. I do. Okay. What would be so your roll is going to be insight. And I'm guessing the resistance roll for this will be probably manipulation, right? Yeah, that's what I figured. So that will be that. And both those are an empathy stat, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you give me your insight roll.
I got a 3 and an 8.
Okay. You really have no idea.
Okay. I'll head on out the shop then.
Can I do possible cheeky roll. I would, looking at this memory machine, I just wonder if it's possible to do a tech roll to get a sense of like where this tech comes from, how common it is.
Yeah. Go for it. Yeah.
Just, I feel like this is something that.
Yeah.
Okay, I got a 6 and a 12. So that's
it's a stelling scan. You've used them before. Yeah.
Okay, it's like like a standard diagnostic tool.
Yeah. You're sure Wallace Corporation has like hundreds of these. The LAPD probably has a couple of them. They're pretty useful. One of the problems is it can't be like impressed on someone, right? It's got to be like a willing things. People have got to really kind of try and relive the moment in their head.
But you could use this to like pull a description of someone from a witness or something, like if they're willing. Okay.
Yeah. But you have to remember it's what they're remembering. Not
sure.
So, for example, if if the description they gave of the witness would it will basically the photo would turn out exactly the same way as their description.
Yeah, it's just like
whether or not that was accurate.
It's like a photo fit with less steps.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the gear is relatively expensive. Like you've never seen a bodged together one like Badger had.
Okay.
It's a visual aid that's prone to all the same problems as eyewitness testimony, right? Where they've fabricated things.
Absolutely. But I mean, the one thing that stelling scans are good for is telling if a memory is implanted or not. Because if it's implanted, it'll come up clear as day. But if it's a real memory, it'll be a lot muddier. So,
okay.
They will sometimes be used in identifying replicants, but there are generally much easier ways to identify a replicant than to somehow trick them into thinking about their memory implant while connected up to a stelling scan. So,
cool. Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, Leah, obviously, maybe Lilith memory is not directly behind it, but what they've done is obviously caused not just the trauma of the memory, but like Leah was not happy about this. And why the hell would she be?
It's not the conclusion of the case they're going to want us to come to, though, is it?
No, and it doesn't excuse murder.
It's also a very compelling reason to kill Lilith Tyrell, but has absolutely nothing to do with Sandor.
That's true.
No, unless that trauma has triggered some sort of response, or like I say, if Styles is another loved one and that traumatic memory is about the death of a loved one she felt she couldn't protect. I don't know. It might be connected. Maybe it's not. Potential question: do we think Lilith Tyrell is in danger? Do we need to set up some kind of protective detail? Do we need to provide some sort of warning?
Maybe. I would hope that she has her own security. Is it going to set the cat amongst the pigeons to say, oh, by the way, the killer's still on the loose and might be coming for you?
It's worth noting, Fenner, that from all appearances, Lilith Tyrell definitely did not have her own security. She had Terry. You don't know how, Terry certainly didn't look like he was security.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Tyrell is not Wallace Court anymore, I don't know that she would necessarily. She seemed pretty, I don't know. I don't think she would take the threat super seriously. And I'm not sure that even if we extended an offer, how much she would, I don't know. But it might be a way of finding Leah if we think there's a chance Leah will go after Tyrell. The person who did this to her.
That's a good
I would prompt the person if they were there, but the person who'd made this kind of connection before is actually not with your group. So instead, I would like all three of you to make an insight roll, please. Two successes from Percival, one from Olsen. and 1 from Fenner. I'm just going to say, for the purposes of this, because Percival got more than the others, Fenner and Olsen, I'll just have it at the back of your head that the Tyrell link seems like a good one. And Percival, you remember Novak saying, why would she be stocking up on ammo unless she had another target?
I'll relay that.
And on that point, let's jump. Okay, that's the end of that shift, right? That's the end of the afternoon shift of the second day. So we're moving into the evening shift of the second day now. And unfortunately for Novak, he doesn't have any choice about where he's spending this shift. Instead, Novak, you slowly start to come to awareness, like coming out of like a general anesthetic. The same wooziness, the same like slow cognition, dulled senses, and a really, really bad sore spot in your chest and abdomen. And as you kind of come to, you realize that you are sat on a not entirely uncomfortable, old-fashioned, slightly plush wooden chair. The second thing you realize is that your arms are strapped to the sides of it. And the further thing you realize is that all your clothing down your front is incredibly cold and wet. You look down and it's soaked through with blood, all the front of you. But also, all of your clothing up the center of your torso has been cut in half, neatly as if with scissors. And you can see that someone has not inexpertly attended to you medically. Of course, how well they've done that is something you're not really in any position to tell, but you are sewn shut. And I will show you the environment that you are in, if I can remember if I've already, yep. This is the environment you see.
I was so worried for a second that you were
like,
going to have like an image of like what the
gore.
sewn up was, and I was like preparing my squeamish self for seeing some sort of gore. And I was like, "How did you know that was going to happen? That's awful."
As for the environs, anything above murder basement is an upgrade to my expectations. So.
Well, let me tell you, this is where you are. Although some of these items are no longer here.
Oh, okay.
Of
Right.
course, Novak does not know where this is.
I was going to say this. Yeah, I have to not allow any mind meta. Interesting.
As you sort of come to a bit more of your senses and take in your environment, you see that stood over kind of near the piano, who appears to be sorting things back into a relatively large and well-equipped medical case, is Styles. You haven't met Styles though, right? But
No,
you have seen his photo.
I think Percival and Olsen spoke to Styles originally outside the club.
Think that's correct, and then Olsen again at the firing range. But I think, as a person of interest, I'm happy for you to recognize that. This
I feel like I'd be aware of through basic team cohesion who Styles is. Right?
Absolutely. He kind of packs it away kind of very neatly, very precisely, pushes it back onto a dresser near the piano, turns around. Evening, Detective Novak.
You missed out the good.
I felt under the circumstances that might feel like unwarranted sarcasm.
That's a fair assessment. What exactly am I doing here, Styles? Not that I'm not grateful for this.
Well, you're here because I need to know what you know. Unfortunately for you, I don't employ the kind of methods that you might. Excuse me, one moment. He strides across the room, which doesn't take him much time. He's really very tall, and kind of strides out of the room And almost immediately you hear like him starting to talk in the next room to someone. You kind of weirdly, the other voice sounds familiar to you, but you can't quite place it. It's quite it's kind of a youthful, energetic voice, but not. You're struggling to place it. You hear Styles say, "Well, where is she now?" "I sent her here. She should be here. She should be hidden until it's time to go to the sign. That's her ticket out. She just needs to lay low, but I suspect she has not been able to let things go." Styles says, "Yeah, I'm sure. She seemed angry. Not done yet." "Yes, I sense that too in her voice. Time will tell. She'll make the decisions she makes. But as long as she is there in the morning, well, we've done all we can." There is a pacing noise, and the second individual you heard, steps out from the side room.
Of course.
"Detective?"
Aurelian, was it?
"It was. I
Had a feeling
apologize
you knew more than you were letting on.
for all the good it did you. I apologize for all this. It's unnecessary, and for the deception. The deception is very necessary."
There's a lot of that going around.
"It seems so. Well, it may seem like this is a mere platitude, but I do wish you well, Detective Novak. But I also desperately wish you would not pursue Leah any further. She has been through enough. Good day. We will not meet again." The Aurelian walks to the door of the safe house and exits. Styles walks back through to the room, drags a similarly plush chair across to in front of you, sits down on it. You can't help notice that sitting down opposite you, he's still like about a head
Towering.
above you.
Yeah.
And he kind of leans forward and says, "I'm not going to threaten to hurt you, or to torture you, or to otherwise extract things from you via pain, even though I could. Tell me what you know about Leah. Tell me what you and all your other detectives know."
See, Styles, that's the funny thing. When you say you're not going to do that and then ask me a question, it almost seems like that's exactly what you're doing. So let me ask you this. If I don't cooperate, what is your next course of action?
For a start, it's not loosening those bonds.
I'm not going anywhere fast, apparently, anyway.
Going somewhere slow is better than not going at all.
That depends on how good a job you did with these stitches, doesn't it, Styles?
I've seen some action. I'm sure I've done fine. Let me put this another way. You and your friends going after Leah is throwing stones into water. Some of those ripples washed over you tonight. I'm sure you can imagine what I might be talking about. And maybe if you stop and let her go, those ripples will just clear away, out of sight, out of mind. I'm trying to make sure that happens.
I think the ripples were very much already in the water when Leah gunned down Sandor in a very public place, no? And I'll tell you, without me doing anything, I got a real good hunch. Those ripples are going to be waves very soon. And it isn't going to be the RDU that makes that happen.
Everyone connected to this, except you and your friends, wants Leah to disappear. I do. My friends do. The Wallace Corporation sure as hell does.
You know who doesn't? Based on what I've seen, what I've heard, and what I just heard you say, Leah doesn't. Because I know, and I'll give you this bit, I know Leah's restocked on ammo, and I know Leah's not laying low in the safe house you've apparently provided. She's on a mission.
Well, why don't you tell me what that mission is?
I would love to, but unfortunately, while attempting to gather that information, some very angry men, dressed in very fancy uniforms, gunned me down in the street. So, if you'd like me to go and find out, maybe you should let me out of these binds.
So, is that from Willem's perspective the truth? Because I think Willem has a pretty good idea who Leah wants to go gun down.
I think he does, but I think if he gives
no
leverage whatsoever.
I'm just thinking, I've allowed these rolls one way.
Sure.
I'm going to allow them the other way.
Sure. Okay.
So why don't you make a manipulation roll for me?
Shit, am I any good at this?
I'm like, I don't know whether to give you what do you think? I'm going to leave it up to you. Do you think you should be in a disadvantage for the pain you're in, or do you think that affects it? Like, I'm happy like to make the decision either way.
I could see this go either way, right? Because I can see an argument for like, well, you're all fucked up. It's really hard for you to maintain composure. But maybe that by its very nature makes it impossible to tell whether I'm being evasive or just I'm like, you know, dizzy. I'm not with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know. It's up to you.
No, it's up to you. Go with your gut.
I feel like Novak's been doing this job a long time, and his stats don't necessarily reflect his ability to just like not spill the beans in this instance. Sure. And I feel like maybe it's a fair compromise to to be like, this is a hard situation in which to read him. So absolutely. So am I just rolling a straight manipulation?
Yeah, roll a roll. It'll be manipulation plus empathy.
Yeah, and are we doing like I am just rolling without disadvantage or advantage, and you're rolling?
If you seem to think that it wouldn't be a disadvantage for Willem, so go ahead and do that. Yeah, and I'm rolling for Styles insight.
Okay. God, numbers, dice, things. And this is manipulation. Yeah, D68. Oh, it's not great. That's a 5 and a 2. Okay. Is that a 5 a fail?
Yes, 6 is a
success. Can I push that then?
You can push, but bear in mind that 1's equal stress.
Okay, I'm not too worried about. On my list of priorities right now in this room.
And also, it's worth noting you don't know if you got any successes.
Sure, but yeah, I didn't. So, and I'm pretty sure Styles seems like a pretty put together individual. So, let's push that.
Okay.
5 and a 1, so I just get a stress and nothing for my trouble.
You just get a stress. Styles kind of like leans in closely to you and kind of like tilts his head and stares at your face. Yeah, you know. And maybe if you tell me in the course of making this all go away, I can also stop Leah from doing what she wants to do. But that's your decision to make. Coffee?
All right.
Was that an all right to the coffee, or all right you're going to tell him? It's fine to be just the first now for the moment. It's up to you.
Yeah. See, the thing is, I don't know how sure Novak is about the Lilith Tyrell angle, because I can't just, as a player, I can't remember how much the rest of the team discussed that in front of him.
I think I am almost 100% sure that Lilith Tyrell being the target of Leah was put forward before this session.
There's a prominent thing.
If it was put forward before this session, it's definitely been something that Novak's been involved in.
Okay, yeah, it was, because I knew
Fenner mentioned it on the call immediately before this.
Because obviously going to talk to Doc Badger has really cemented that, but it was still the notion of her memory has fucked her up.
Yes.
And
that was
we know that Lilith did it, and she could sure as shit find out that Lilith did it.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay, fine. So, okay, so Novak will, I think he'll start cooperating now and say, all right, well, you got me in a bit of a corner here, so let's talk about motive. One of the things that I found difficult to understand in that club was what could possibly have possessed Leah to do that. And honestly, I'm still not sure exactly how that situation shook out. But one thing seems clear from our investigation, and that's that Leah's memories are a mess. And she is emotionally very disturbed, it would seem. And there is one obvious connection. It's the best of a weak group of flawed theories that we have. But I know she went to buy more ammo. And I know that the one person she might blame for her memories would be Lilith Tyrell.
Memory designer.
Yeah, memory labs.
He has been over to the side where you've been talking, like making some coffee on a kind of fast boiling kettle that's over there. He comes back over and kind of sits down and says, well, you've been fair with me, so I'll be fair with you. I don't think it'll particularly do you any good at this point. Maybe it will. You want to know why she shot Sandor? Well, because I had already had dealings with Leah about getting her off-world, away from this. You're right, she couldn't cope anymore. She can't cope. She's fucked up. More than most. And unfortunately for her, that night in the club, Sandor clocked me. He pulled his gun to bring me in. Leah needed to get off-world. And in that moment, she made a decision. A decision I'm damn sure you've made 100 times over, Detective. Maybe you'll make it again. Maybe you'll make it later tonight.
not feeling I'll be in much shape to make that kind of decision anytime this evening, but
Well,
the night is young.
I sure hope not. He pulls his eye down to reveal his serial number.
I had intuited that based on your custodianship of Leah.
The underground is new, detective, but we're here. Now, he lifts up. He's already taken a sip of one cup of coffee, and he lifts up another one to, like, gently kind of like let you take a sip yourself. Let's talk about how you and I go about saving the life of Lilith Tyrell. And I think we will end the session there.
Did have the hint of a closer about it, that line.
It's almost as if I've done this before.
Almost.
So,
like, yeah.
Almost like. So there we go, folks. Thank you so much. If you want us to answer any questions or comments, we've got some bangers already that I've seen in chat. Then post them in there, and we'll do that thing. In the meantime, it's the usual promo nonsense. Check below this video, and you will find a number of links. There's links to YouTube and links to Twitch. You're watching on one of those sites. Check out the other one. Twitch is where you catch us live, and YouTube is where you can catch all our VODs. Although very soon we're probably going to start multi-streaming to YouTube as well, because why the hell not now? Doesn't matter anymore, so we might as well. You'll also find links to our social media, our Discord, our Patreon, our merch store, all the usual stuff you might expect. There is also actually, there's not a link down there to this, but I will put the link to this in the chat. We are currently running a Kickstarter campaign. It's in its final week. The closing day is this Sunday, March 31st. It is for our first TTRPG creation, which is a zine for the Troika tabletop role-playing game. It's a lot of fun. It's very weird. It's kind of gonzo cosmic horror and oddness. Check it out if you're interested in that kind of thing. And to celebrate that final day of the campaign, we are going to be running a Troika game on Sunday, March 31st, which will be the first game of our zine, right? The first game we've run using this setting, our first pseudo playtest thing, I guess. So if you fancy watching a number of us, including two of the people on the, I think, right? Like it's Inga and Sam. Are you in it, Sam? I can't remember. You are, right? This Sunday?
I don't think so.
Are you not? Never mind. But other people are doing
Maybe.
it. Other people are doing it. So, and Alex as well. Yeah, lots of people and a bunch of others as well. Other Sam and John and maybe other people. I thought it was two Sams, but maybe it's just one Sam. So there we go. Yeah, tune in for that if you're interested. We run a bunch of stuff on a weekly basis. Mondays has been Warhammer Weekly, but now it's shifting to Warhammer Fortnightly, and We Deal in Lead, taking up the other slot. That's going to be a new game. It's very highly placed in our end-of-year poll, so tune into that. It's going to be Jack being a GM on the channel for the first time. Wednesdays is, of course, Blade Runner. I think I am very confident in saying I think, if I had to guess, I'd say we've got one more episode. Possibly two, but I think we've probably got one more episode of this.
That fucking clock, though.
Right. So let's so tune in next week for what may well be the finale. And then probably after a short break, we'll be back to Simbaroom as our big ongoing campaign. So yeah, Thursdays are fortnightly Wicked Ones, and which will quite soon transform into fortnightly the Yellow King, which will also features at least a couple of the people sat around this digital table. And we run one shots on a monthly basis. Obviously, I've mentioned it a couple of times already. The next one is this Sunday, Troika. Do the thing, tune into that, watch it, enjoy it, back the campaign. Give us all your money. That's how that will definitely work. So with that in mind, let's start going through these comments and questions. 42 says, if you can't pet the cat, it is not a good game. That's is absolutely true. Inga said, "Don't get shot to death. Percival has a pretty excellent sense of priority."
I
mean,
think that's a subtitle
that.
for the game, right?
Yeah.
Blade Runner :
Don't
Don't
get
get
shot
shot
to
to
death. Yeah,
I
it's
feel
worth
like
noting. No, carry on.
Maybe we need to broaden this to not get shot at all. I feel like getting shot, even not to death, it should be.
Are
Absolutely.
you kidding?
I
I
mean,
commented later, but like getting shot was the best intel gathering that we've done.
I was going to say
Novak has done. Like
Novak.
that was
Novak
excellent.
has found out like triple the information just from almost dying and not asking any questions. He has
Sure.
going around various locales asking
Absolutely.
stupid questions.
And I would also note that part of that is my let's go behind the curtain, my subtle manipulation of narrative matters, in that now, technically speaking, the crit that you suffered, you'd be dead in a round without medical attention. But I was like, I had a notion I wanted to do something like this if the fight went that way. So I was like, yeah, let's play with it and do something more narratively satisfying. None of what just happened is real. Well, some of it is. It definitely in the book goes through like what happens if Styles ends up capturing someone and taking them to the safe house. But I decided to add a bit more to it because I feel like we're really honing in.
It felt very Blade Runner. It was
good.
I'm into it.
That was
so. In short, don't get shot to death. Just get shot the right amount.
Yes.
Get shot a moderate amount, moderate to high, and then get captured.
Get shot only in the expendable organs.
Yes.
I feel like I definitely got shot in some indispensable organs.
Am I right in
don't
thinking
have that
that
many dispensable organs?
You've got 2 kidneys. It's fine.
Yeah, 1 kidney.
One
like
kidney, a spleen.
I want to say, yeah, the spleen's done after you're like a teenager, right? I think. Is it the spleen or the gallbladder?
I'm not sure. I feel like maybe the gallbladder is quite important.
Yeah, I think it is. But I think you're right. The spleen stopped, is like a vestigial after point, right?
Development. Yeah, I think so. I might have made that up, but
I'm not super up on which organs I may or may not need. I'm generally not operating with the assumption that I'll keep most of them if I can.
They're probably there for a reason, right? You should just leave them there.
And also, it should be pointed out that to get to the organ, the bullet has to go through some, all of the bits around the organ are fairly important, just for not bleeding out for a start. But there we go. We also had this other banger from Inga. Plot twist: Novak arrives just in time to reveal himself as the person behind the gun shooting at Percival.
I was wondering what you were doing with my character at that point. It wasn't off the cards.
Got a question here from Steve. Was Olsen's new rifle registered or is it off the books? It's very off the books.
Bob's does not do rifle registrations.
Yes.
And he also was the person who said Novak's probably gone off.
I would like to point out this is like the 3rd fucking time I've been trying to eat my goddamn noodles, and someone's shot at me or interrupted me in some other way.
Single-handedly keeping Chinatown in business. It's the noodle police. Important question: does Novak bolt whilst holding noodles?
I think we found our meme for this game.
It was really hard for me to not do various slapsticky things during this episode involving throwing noodles at people or like other shenanigans or being like, did you find my car, my beautiful spinner?
What have you done with noodles?
Beautiful noodles.
Inga, again, I'm picturing an Indiana Jones style situation where the noodles nearly get left on the table, but he reaches back at the last second.
Exactly. Just
I
on
love
the
the idea
top of the spinner, like on the roof.
Yeah. Steven says, I'm pretty sure that's in Harrison Ford's contract, which means I consider that canon behavior for every Blade Runner.
I love the idea that he could have gotten away if he'd only let his noodles go, but like they were just weighing him down too much and he wouldn't let them go.
Next episode,
there has to be a shot of saving the noodles at the last minute.
Novak is going to go John Wick on the last person who like 3 times my goddamn noodles have been in the line of fire. I'm not taking it anymore.
Fling your scalding noodles at them.
That was actually a thing that occurred to me.
yeah.
Yeah, but I didn't do it. You can thank me later, Matt. It's fine.
Yeah. Steve, you hit that secret spot that makes them explode with the gun. I don't think it's unreasonable that a .44 round would effectively make the side of someone's head explode if you hit it in the right way.
Very plausible.
Is that a Hot Fuzz reference? Is there a part of a man's head that when you shoot it, it
explodes? I can't. For some reason, I couldn't do the Southwest accent there, but there we go. Inga says, "Can't believe there weren't any good guys with guns from the empathy movement protest."
It's weird how that never seems to happen. Like
crazy.
Almost I mean, as if the fundamental concept is inherently flawed.
But I mean, I would like to point out that I was saved by a good guy with a gun. Also,
without a gun, he didn't shoot anyone.
He shot two people. He shot one person.
He shot one of them.
And then
Styles didn't have a gun.
Oh, did he not? I thought you said they heard a suppressed shot. And
you
then...
did.
Oh, he was shooting at...
It wasn't suppressed. It wasn't suppressed, but Styles didn't have a gun.
Interesting. Okay.
Styles had an accomplice.
Interesting. Okay.
I mean, you already know he's got at least one, right?
Yeah. And numerous.
Yeah. Stephen, I know it's not how the artwork looks, but in the theatre of my mind, Styles is played by Ryan Styles. Is this off Whose Line Is It Anyway fame?
Yeah, the big tall Canadian guy.
Sure. I was thinking of the image. He does kind of remind me of someone, but one of the people he reminds me of is the picture is a much taller, generally kind of more handsome and cooler looking version of Mark Prosh, who plays Colin Robinson in What We Do in the Shadows, which no one here may have seen, but yeah,
I can see that. But in my head it's Ryan Styles, and I'm okay with that.
Fair enough. What else? There was more talk about noodles. I liked this from Steve. As I was persuading you to maybe
Back to the Future.
Just look for him in this vast dystopian cityscape. Novak is slowly fading away in an old Polaroid photo. Who's Novak? There's never been a Novak on the Force.
This was during the Back to the Future meme referencing. That was, yeah.
Alex Ollison is the rifle-toting empath of the squad. Yeah. Right. You know when I was talking about Leeds, you used to live in Leeds, right, Stephen? Just doxing.
I did. Yeah.
Back in the day. Because you were nodding when I was talking about the shopping arcade. Did you know exactly where I was talking about?
I think so. I think I'm picturing the same place that you were.
Yeah. It's the same shopping arcade that the trusty old goth club used to be in.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Right. Yeah. No,
yeah. Trying desperately to not give away elements of our lives there. After already having, said I used to live in Leeds and Stephen used to live in Leeds. So, in the former I did voluntarily, and yet the second one I just threw out there despite with no consideration for Stephen.
And we may have known the location of both shopping centres and goth clubs.
I think they've got us. Joke.
Time to change my identity.
Yep. Styles sits down and eats noodles right in front of Novak's face. It's a lot nicer than that in the end. We had this wonderful Thing quote from Stephen, which is one of my, I won't read it out, but it's one of my favorite bits in the thing.
For a moment, I thought that's where Novak was going. I thought he was monologuing up to something very much like this.
I was sort of considering something like that, but then it sort of became a bit more amicable, and I was like, maybe don't piss off the giant man.
Yeah.
That's too hard boiled. We need less hard boiled.
We need less hard boiled.
Yeah. Yeah. I really enjoyed that session. That was really fun. I liked the various kind of it felt kind of very, very cinematic scenes that we had. Yeah, I like it in the Blade Runner franchise broadly. like when you're reminded that even though replicants are essentially humans, they are a kind of a different. They're not operating on the same level. And I very much wanted a bit of a moment like that in our game, with Styles just fucking crunching the guy against the wall. Big kind of shades of Leon, the character from Blade Runner, not the film.
Yeah. It's like the whole campaign's been good, but I agree. This session is the one where it felt like it really kind of sang in terms of just like you could see that, you know, on the screen kind of happening.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool.
Can I just double check? Like we didn't, or I say we, Novak maybe more so, didn't get confirmation, strictly speaking, either way about who the Black Ops guys were or which sort of side they were on, did we? No.
I think
no, although
Styles
seemed to think it was Wallace, didn't he?
Yeah, in terms of the ripples to keep things quiet kind of vibe. Yeah.
I also just feel like it's kind of intuitively obvious that if a load of black armor-clad, anonymous, highly geared guys jump you in the street when you're pursuing an investigation related to the reps, then it's like it's corporate in some way. I don't know if you'd be able to say, "Oh, it must be Wallace," but like, I think it's pretty.
Who else? Yeah.
Who else?
Is this, maybe you can't say anything about this map, but I wonder if there's a behind the scenes thing of why those guys got targeted. I guess they weren't like coming after me in my home.
No, they weren't, were they? Funny that. So join us next week, folks, for another session of Blade Runner, quite possibly the last one. Having a lot of fun with this. Thank you to my wonderful players. Thank you to all of you out there. Take care and stay safe, and we'll see you next Wednesday. Goodbye.